MPs and Rachel Reeves now, right? All these Palestine protesters who have been kicking off, right?
We're introducing new legislation to put our economic security first. We understand your cause and we are recognising a Palestinian state, but we are now a party in government, not a party of protest. And I'm proud to stand here as your...
So this is the thing, right? She's saying they're not a party of protest, right? But protest is politics, right? Demonstrations and protests are making representations politically. So it means that, what is it? It's a political representation. But that's what you do when you stand up in Parliament, make a political representation. But as we're not elected MPs, we're not allowed to go into Parliament and make a representation. So people can't fit into Parliament. So they're only actually doing what MPs are doing. And if you look in the Erskine May book, there's a clause where MPs can use objects or articles to make a demonstration. They can use them to exhibit as exhibits or articles to demonstrate or prove a point, as long as they're not weapons, right? So what you're doing in Parliament is using an item or an object to make a representation. So that's what it is. It's a political representation. So now she's basically saying, right, that Labour are not a party of political representations, which it doesn't make sense. It breaks sense with logic, right? I'm sorry, but this woman she does not compute. She doesn't make sense. What she's saying is not right. She stood there making a political representation, even with a little picture and logo at the front to help, right? And then she's saying, we're not a party of political representation. So it doesn't compute. And everyone cannot fit into Parliament and everyone's not elected, but they're allowed to make representations outside of Parliament, not in order to show strength in numbers of how many support this or that cause, which can be debated in Parliament. There are about 6 Palestine petitions, and I printed out some of them, right? And anyone can hold signs up for those in public and share them around, right? But people aren't doing that for some reason. For some reason, they're not doing that. And this is this whole stupid prescription con, right? People are getting arrested on this stupid new law that really it's like the difference between this all stems from the it all stems from the Public Order Acts and the fact that we're getting miscategorised. People aren't getting properly recognised and categorised. So but this is the least of our troubles. You know, they're actually obstructing petitions when you do a petition. When you actually do a lawful petition and a correct one and don't even go demonstrating, right? They're not actually allowing the normal... Right, if you choose not... Right, she's saying, right, don't go out and protest. So what do? Well, you use a lawful process. So they've got a lawful process called public petitions. But they're not even allowing you to use that. They're obstructing and blocking you to do that against the policy clauses. But they can't be policy clauses because you hand it into your MP and then your MP signs it and then it's received. They've got a team of people who aren't MPs rejecting and blocking things. So you use the lawful process and they're not allowing it. So they're not even a party of lawful process. They're not a party of politics. They aren't a party of democracy. Rachel Reeves is a liar. They're a party of lies. She doesn't even make sense. She's a woman who would walk up a staircase, right, and say, we're not a party of walking up staircases. Or she's a woman who would open a cupboard and say, we're not a party of opening cupboards. And then she would go buy a coffee and say, we're not a party of buying coffees. That is actually what she's saying and doing. because it's a political representation, right? Now, she doesn't. What she should have said is, we don't agree with your methods or styles of presentation. Yet, the idea behind using an object or article to demonstrate a point it is in the parliamentary practice book, right? And that's what people are doing. So, she is a liar, and this is a problem with Starmer. This is the problem with these Crown prosecutors who lie in the process and procedures. And police, they're a government of corruption and lies. And they're desperately trying to get on with, the business they want to put through Parliament. But it's not actually about that. It's about the integrity, honesty, truth, and logic of the government. They're blocking us from using the lawful, correct process where you don't even have to turn up at any of these demonstrations. You just do it all on paper and numbers, and they're not letting you collect the numbers because they don't want the numbers to be written down on paper to show that people don't want the government to do what they're doing. So, Rachel Reeves is a liar. She's just a liar, and these people need to be extracted and removed from government by signatures, but they're not even letting us collect signatures to remove an MP. So, as far as I'm concerned, they're hijacking the government. They've hijacked it, and they're using the police to keep themselves in there. And that's actually subverting the rights and liberties of the realm. It is terrorism, because that police force is meant to be ours, and we pay for it, and they're using it to hold the fort, to keep themselves in position, but block the legitimate legal process. And the police aren't doing anything about it. I'm having to try to go to the ombudsman now to try and get this stupid team from... They're lying. They're actually rejecting petitions on lies, and they're even pretending they don't know what you're asking or saying, when it clearly states in papers they've published that you're allowed to criticise what the government are doing and disagree with them. If you can't disagree with them, you can't put evidence against something in opposition and have it heard. And this team seem to be claiming that they're the judges, but they're not the sworn-in MPs, and that's not the debate. That's just actually submitting it to get debated. So, and it says you're allowed to have the petition run with disagreeing evidence and statements that disagree, not try to disagree. I'm sorry, but these people, right, they've left, they've gone. They're intellectually defective. They're intellectually defective, right? They've got intellectual defects in their intelligence, and they're actually saying things that make sense, right? She's standing there making a representation, and she's not even inside Parliament anyway, right? And then she said, we don't believe in representations. They're using this word protest. It is the public making a representation, right? That's what it is. And she's there with a sign in front of her with writing, same words. That's what it is. And then she says she don't believe in that. So, these people are a lost cause. These people are a lost cause, and now what the police are doing, and that's just proof to show that they're prescriptive, Tosh. There are at least 6 Palestine petitions on the website, right? And you can print those out, and it says the word Palestine, right? And some of them are supporting it or in that sort of type of thing, right? And I'm just telling you what's on the website, right? So you can walk around with those signs. I wish people would do that. I wish people would do that, print them out. And then, we'll see what the police do, because, that's actually live on the Parliament website, which you're allowed to share them.